Welcome, traders, to this week's live market and trade analysis session with me, Patrick Munnelly. I'm going to be providing some insight into the Emini SP500 today as we head into the cash open for New York trading. Before we get started here, obviously want to adhere to risk disclaimers. Views and opinions expressed by me are solely mine. They're not indicative or representative of those held by Tickmill UK and Tickmill Europe Limited. And obviously trading carries inherent risk, and you should assess your personal risk file before getting involved in the markets. So we're going to get going here in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to start off with a recap of the overnight session. We're going to look at the trade plan heading into the cash session, identify some trade levels. I'll update you on my perspective, and we'll go through the live action during the open here and see if we can identify any asymmetric trading opportunities. Any questions you have, feel free to type them into the chat. We've got a chat on TradingView, and I'm guessing we probably have a live chat on the YouTube stream as well. So if you want to post questions into either of those chats, I'll come back to them as and when I have chance during the session or at the end of the session, depending upon how the action unfolds as we get going here in just over 10 minutes for the opening of the New York Stock Exchange. Okay. Okay, let's start with a recap of the overnight action. Before we get started, actually, just for those of you who aren't involved in the Facebook group, in partnership, exclusive partnership with Tickmill, I run a strategy group, trading group, focused on futures, options, forex, most markets really, and I provide daily updates, observations through the main page here, as you can see. We get institutional insights and various technical observations. I provide trade setups, trade analysis, market analysis, all via this main page. But more importantly, the Tickmill Trader chat you can see here, you can join that once you access the actual group. And this is more of a real-time environment where I post my ongoing market observations throughout the London and the open of the New York session, provide real-time trading updates, trade plans, institutional research from some of the major investment banks, which gives you a perspective on how the bigger players are positioned. I refer to it really as market intelligence as opposed to anything that you're going to immediately action, but it's really useful to have a gauge of how the bigger players in the market are positioned, because essentially as retail traders, what we're trying to do is ride the coattails of these bigger players and grab some of the meat of the move that these larger funds and trading desks are predominantly driving. So feel free to request access to the main page, and then you can also access the trader chat. Let me just turn down this wire service in the background here. 1 second. Okay, let's take a look at the trade plan from this morning to get a sense of the levels we're watching. So obviously we've got options expiration tomorrow, Friday, and I don't tend to be particularly active during options expiration. We obviously get some pretty erratic price action more often than not around that time, and technical levels tend to be less adhered to. Certainly, not as much on the monthly option expiry, which we've got tomorrow. More around the quarterlies where you really get that impact in terms of options positioning and market makers and dealers trying to hedge out their risk. So coming into today's session, we are long to neutral against this weekly bull bear zone. The bull bear zone that I am using for this week is the 4760 to 4770. Now, yesterday we traded below there. Traded down to the 4740s, coming just shy of the 4740 test before getting an impulse off the lows into the close last night. I did highlight to the guys in the room in the strategy group, that as we traded into that 4740, 4730 area, especially if it was late in the day, I was going to be watching for a reaction there to engage on the long side. I got filled on a long through 4765 last night. Managed to get half my position off +5, so I'm risk-free essentially long from 4760. Then coming into the London session today, I highlighted the potential for some resistance to come in around the 4790, 4795. That was via a voice note that I posted into the Tickmill Trader chat. So guys in the group had advanced warning of that level. And I watched for the reaction we got post the jobless claims where we tagged that 4795. We exceeded by a couple of ticks. And I played the reaction there off that level for a short, got filled at 47.90. Again, got half my position off risk-free. So currently I'm running a long from 47.60, which is risk-free, and a short from 47.95, which is risk-free. Now, with these positions, I'll be watching for signs as we head into the cash session for one of those positions to be invalidated, and then I'm going to be looking to add to the trade that is working. And at this stage, my focus is on the long side, so I'll be looking for a breakthrough at 47.95. The Globex high is 47, just below 47.98. And through the 48.05 level to look to play long positions up, targeting a test of the expected range resistance today, which actually comes in. That's that level on there, the 4801 is 4801 is our expected range resistance. So if we can get through that 4801, then what I'm going to be watching for is using the market internal indicators to confirm that we have bullish momentum across the board. And then we're going to be looking to add to those long positions. The target on the upside then is going to become the 4832, which is a 2 sigma standard deviation to the upside versus last night's closing price. And technically, more often than not, 95% of the time, actually, statistically speaking, when we test that that 2 standard deviation move to the upside, so the 4832s, 95% of the time, the market will actually close below that level. And so I'll be paying close attention if we get to that 4832. Obviously, 4825s, there's been significant resistance, and those 4830s have held on numerous tests this year. But if we get a break there, then we're going to be starting to take a look at the 4850s, 4860s and 70s and above. And I'll update you as to the levels if that plays out. Now, the downside scenario is we start to get acceptance back below the 4780. The 4780-85 level is today's current intraday bull bear zone. Let's move actually to the charts here, so you can see this is a multi-time frame view. We've got the hourly chart here in the top left, 4-hour chart with the trade levels marked on, so you can see again just shy of that 4801 daily projected range resistance. We've got daily projected range support down to that 4740. If we take out the 4740 on the downside, 4710 should see a test. And again, that's a 2 sigma move to the downside, where once again we would be looking looking to play a potential counter trend long, depending upon the price action. So let's move to the intraday chart. So this is my trading setup for the cash session. You can see this chart to the left is a 5-minute chart, and this is a 1-minute chart. I use the 1-minute chart specifically for the indicators, the market internal tools that I use. This top pane here will be populated with what's called the tick. The tick highlights in every 1 minute iteration the amount of stocks on the New York Stock Exchange ticking up versus those ticking down. We have extreme areas that we monitor, and when we trade towards this red zone, so that's 1,000 ticks on the upside, more often than not that will signal a pause in the move to the upside, potential profit taking. A lot of programmatic trades use the tick for profit taking, and can, if we're trading into one of the predefined support and resistance areas, can actually act as a potential trade signal for me, and vice versa on the downside. If you trade into the green zone here, that's telling me that at least 1,000 stocks on the New York Stock Exchange are ticking down. That's an extreme where we can see some programmatic profit taking. So pay close attention to the tick and the trend. I'll highlight that as we get going once it starts to populate. Above there, we have the breadth indicator. So the breadth is telling us the amount of volume, the money flow into stocks going up versus stocks going down. When we're getting prints above the zero level, that suggests there's more money going into stocks that are trading to the upside than there is to the downside, vice versa. When we are below the zero level, that's a bearish reading, suggesting more money is actually flowing into the stocks that are trading down versus those trading up, and gives a bearish confirmation. The top pane here is the AD line, the advanced decline line. So that's telling us how many stocks are advancing versus stocks declining. And again, trading above the zero level is bullish, more stocks advancing on the New York Stock Exchange than declining. Trading below the zero line is a negative read and suggests bearishness. So I use these indicators or these market internals to give me a read underneath the hood of the action that we're seeing at an index level. When I refer to the index level, obviously it's the SP500 is the index. The futures are a derivative, and the readings that we're getting from these market internals are actually telling us more specifically what's happening at a stock level, so at the constituent level of the S&P 500. So if the market if the price action is moving to the upside, or we're advancing, but the breadth and the AD line are negative, and that's telling me that underneath the hood there's a problem with the current trend, and we're likely to see the potential for a reversal in the market. The last tool I use, and the one I refer to pretty regularly here, is Delta, market Delta. So without going into too much detail here, just as we're heading into the open, Delta is essentially a reference to buying and selling pressure. So if price is trending to the upside, we want to see the delta making new highs as a confirmation of the strength of the trend. If we are seeing price move into highs, as we saw with the spike here into that 97.25 in the pre-market, you'll note that we didn't get a new high in delta here. We actually got what I refer to as delta divergence. So price made a new high, we didn't get a new high in the delta, and that was my signal for the short trade that I'm currently in. So I'll refer to delta divergence regularly throughout the sessions over the weeks as we go ahead, and you should be able to pick up what it is or how it is I use the tool. But it really is a fantastic tool for confirmation or non-confirmation of moves, combined with the other market internals. So we're a minute out from the open here, and let's see where we open up, and then I'm going to update trade levels. What I'm using at the moment as we head into the cash trading session, the blue and the gold line on here on the 5-minute chart represents the halfway back for the current trading session, and the volume weighted average price, that's the blue line, for the current trading session that we have since the futures reopened last night in New York. So again, I reference those as full session mid, full session VWAP, and we use those throughout the session as reference points. And certainly on pullbacks, they're very useful in confirming trends. At the moment, we are trading below the daily 5-period look back volume weighted average price. Now, this is key for me as it defines the trend on the higher time frame. And you'll notice here, although these on a normal candlestick chart, price moving to the upside, we see green candles. Mine are colored red because we are trading below that daily trend reference point, which is 47.95 at the moment. And so just to help me with just an easy visual of where we are in the markets, I have those colored with the trend. For those who are in the strategy group, you can access these indicators and my specific chart setup. I share that I can share that with you on personal request through the chat group. So markets opening up, we are positioned bullishly above the 47.80. And what I'm watching for now is as we open up, let's see how these internals shape up. We're getting a nice push higher here in terms of the 1-minute market delta. And we are trading above the full session, mid full session VWAP. So for now, the focus is to the upside. For me personally, what I'm obviously looking for is if my stop gets taken at the 47.95, that's going to position me to the long side, and I'm going to be looking for opportunities to add to my my long from 47.65, which is risk free, versus 47.60. So let's see. Let's let these opening rotations go through, and then we'll see where we are. Any questions? Like I say, feel free to type them into the chat box, and as and when I'll get to them as timely fashion as possible, market action allowing. So we are seeing a positive AD line, although we're pulling back off the opening prints here. We have a positive breadth, and tick opened up at an extreme, obviously, given the overnight move that we've seen. It's a bullish reading on tick. So we'll let the opening rotations go through to let the internals settle out and see. What we're looking for is an opening swing reference. So we opened up in that 47.86. We have these two green lines that you can see forming here on the minute chart. They are used for reference points for the initial balance measurement. The initial balance is the opening hours range of price action, because that has the opening the IB high or the IB low are reference points as the day's trading continues. So once we get through that opening hour, those areas, certainly if we're trending, pullbacks to the IB high can act as support, pullbacks to the IB low if we're trending to the downside can act as resistance. And also we have a use for the initial balance in terms of days when we gap up or gap down in terms of price, because statistically there's a high probability scenario that if we gap up and we don't test the halfway back of the gap in the overnight session, the gap from the close of the prior day, and we break the IB high, that's what we call a gap and go trade. And those can be again really useful trading tools on trending days. Obviously we have opened with a small gap to the upside here at the moment versus yesterday's settle price. So we have a half gap. Let's draw that in. So we've tested overnight. We've traded into, so the half gap comes in at 47.82. Haven't traded there yet in the full session. Now, like I say, because the gap versus last night's settle is just about 10 points. I prefer to trade the gap and go trade. We like to see gaps that are bigger than 10 points to give a decent signal. But we do have that gap. So watching for that gap area, 47.82 to get filled. We have just below there the full session, mid full session VWAP. So those are going to be some initial key references to suggest strength in this recovery to the upside. But as highlighted before, in terms of the higher time frame, we have traded into the high volume node on the hourly time frame, 47.92, trend channel resistance, and currently have been rejected, and hence the current short exposure that I'm running versus my long from yesterday's close. So if we can get a break of this 4800, 4801, which is the expected range resistance for the day. So if we can start to establish some value above there, then what we're going to look for are these internals to be trending to the upside, and we're going to be looking to play continuation trades. So we look for a break, consolidation, and then we look to play the break of that consolidation with the current trend to the upside. I would highlight for trades, my initial risk on any trade automatically through my automated trade management software means that I have a 10-point stop, and that initial 10-point stop is equal to 1% account equity. That's my PA account. I obviously manage external capital as well, and I have a reduced or far more conservative risk exposure on that. But personally, I allocate an initial 1% risk, and I look for, more often than not, I'm looking for a 5-point move in favor of my trade to take off half that risk and reduce my exposure. And then I use that 5 points that I've taken as a buffer for any pullbacks to my entry point, especially when I'm playing continuation trends, because we're playing breaks of resistance. More often than not, you get that. Well, there is a tendency, obviously, to retest resistance as support, but when markets really move, you don't get those pullbacks. That's why I play the continuation trades, given depending upon the market structure and environment we're in. And certainly, if we start to take out that hourly trend line, trend channel resistance through the 4800s, through the 4805, then we're looking at 10, 15, and 24, and our two standard deviation resistance today comes in at 48.32 on the upside. So those are going to be my immediate upside targets if we can hold the full session mid and full session VWAP for an upside extension here. The alternative scenario is that we trade back down through the gap, we take out the full session mid, full session VWAP, and we take another look at the 47.70 from the upside. Now, if that plays out, that's going to be, to my mind, first signal that the longs are in trouble, and we could be seeing another leg to the downside. And that then will set up those downside targets that I referenced in the pre-market here. We have 14 at the moment. We've traded just shy of the half gap versus that 67 settled yesterday. So we haven't tested the half gap yet. So we're seeing the AD line pullback. Breadth is around the 0 line at the moment, so no strong signal from the internals. And that, as you can see, is replicating the price action. We're going nowhere fast at the moment. And I would highlight as well, obviously, we have options expiration tomorrow on Friday. So it's likely that market makers are going to want to try and pin the price action to the highest volume strike, which I imagine is somewhere around the 4800 level. I'll actually drop you some confirmation on that. Let me see. Again, any questions, feel free to type them into the chat.
Obviously, 4.5% money markets currently pricing in 110 basis points of class 5 BOE this year.
Okay, so no tests so far back into that half gap. So this is suggesting we're getting some upside momentum developing here, or energy building for the upside. We're not getting any confirmation from price as such at the moment as we continue to trade within this opening swing.
TSNA says that piece of electric notes that does let them go to employees. They're only second wage high, following complaints.
I think the delta starts to roll over here. We're pulling back from that 47.90. And let's see if bids develop here into the half gap 47.82, where we've got that full session mid and full session VWAP sitting just above there. So that's the confluence for where you'd expect buyers to step back in if we are going to make a move higher here. The red, gold and green lines that you can see here, this is the value area low for the current session. So that represents the base of 70% of the price action from the overnight session. And so that's a key reference point, 47.75. The gold line represents the highest volume node for the current session, 47.86. And the red area, the red line represents the top of the 70% of the overnight volume. So that's 47.97. So those are the key reference points for them keeping an eye on throughout the day as the volume profile builds. Currently, you can see clearly we've got two distributions, an upper and a lower distribution. If we take out the lower distribution, focus certainly shifts to the potential for downside price discovery at the moment. Like I say, we're holding this key area, this 47.82, 47.80 as support for now. No real meaningful excursions away from that area currently.
For Mexico, which is witness sporting must take alarm that someone's in Mexico City.
Okay, here we are, 47.83 tested just above 47.82. You can see the blue line represents the volume weighted average price. You're watching for bids to develop here. Watch the tick. You're looking for strong tick prints here to suggest volume moving in to shares ticking higher as we test those key reference points. A lot of algorithms and programmatic trading models for large investment banks or trading desks use the volume weighted average price for the day as a reference point of value if they're having to execute big block orders for clients. Clients will be watching for that volume weighted average price as a reference point for where their trades are filled to represent that they're getting good value from their execution desks. And so if we're going to make a strong push to the upside, what we're looking for on this initial test back into the volume weighted average price, you can see overnight we basically rotated around it, using it as support and resistance throughout the overnight session. And we're now looking, as we head into the cash session, our first clue as to whether buyers are in control is going to be, can we defend that full session mid, full session VWAP, and make a move higher here. Let's see, in terms of the Mag 7, we've only got Tesla under some pressure here, 215. I'm currently running a long in Tesla from 218, using a 211 stop at the moment on that. Let's okay. Okay, so there's the bid that's come in initially to defend the full session mid, full session VWAP, so that 47.80 has acted as initial support. Now see if we can take out the IB high here as the next reference point to building positivity here. So the current IB high 47.91, 47.90.75. So we need to see a move through there now to start to get this momentum going to the upside. Breadth is neutral really, and the AD line, although positive, is trending down from its opening print. So getting some mixed signals at the moment. Hence, we're seeing some chop, some heavy rotation in and around these this 47.80, 47.90. So nothing to do at the moment. Waiting for a clearer signal. We've got a tick that is just between the plus 400, negative 400 print. Now, the tick is good also for confirming chops. So when we're in that plus or minus 400 zone, that's suggesting just rotation for now. I'm not seeing any meaningful trend developing the tick. And certainly once, if we do move out of this current IB at the 47.80, 47.90, want to see the tick start to move with that price trend as a confirmation. So it's really one of the key aspects of trading in the New York session is this idea of being able to use these market internals as fantastic confirmation tools for your trades. And certainly the more familiar you become with them, and understanding how there is their movements as a reflection of the individual stocks feeding into what we're getting in terms of an index level movement, you can really use them to your advantage. And certainly I have for a career that has now spanned over 15 years. Again, any questions, feel free to type them into the chat boxes and I'll get to them as and when. A little bit more pressure coming in here on the downside. We're seeing the delta start to roll over a little bit here. Seeing that tick, you see that push down in the tick you're seeing there at the moment now. That's weighing on the market. With, as I said, the breadth, the top pan, this pane here, below open positive, we are trending to the downside at the moment. And sorry, the AD line trending to the downside. And we have breadth now that is just going a touch negative here. So this is a bit of a concern here for the longs, and we have now filled the half gap. So that gap and go trade that I referenced at the beginning of the session, the break of the IB high is no longer valid now, as we've traded the half gap during the initial balance session. So that trade is off the table for me now. But we're still holding in and around support. We just want to see these internals improve here or start to pick up if we can catch a bid as we test support 47.80s. Got all the Mag 7 now in positive territory. So for those who aren't familiar with the Mag 7, these are the 7 bigger stocks on the stock exchange at the moment: Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta. And again, if those guys are all in the green, that's a positive contribution, bearing in mind they are the majority of volume that we're seeing trade in the markets at the moment. So you can also use those again as another internal reference point, and that's why I have them up on the screen here. This watch list I have is basically my reference point when I open the charts in the morning. I'm going to know first and foremost what the dollar's doing, what yields are doing, what the VIX is doing, the bond market. Then we look at the futures here and the overseas futures markets, European bonds, European markets, major FX, Bitcoin, gold, crude, the Mag 7 then below there as we move into the cash session. So again, a bit of weight coming in here. We're testing now 47.80s. Want to see, again, watch the tick here. We want to see some big tick prints if we're going to defend this area as a reference. We've got the value area low now has rotated slightly higher. So we've got 47.76 as the value area low. So if we start to trade down below there, I think we could be starting to look for a further downside price action, 47.70, then into the overnight lows, 47.63, 47.60, which would take out my long position that I opened last night. And so again, if we move through there, then my focus shifts to the downside, and we're going to be looking for downside targets and entries or I'll be looking to add to the short that I'm currently running from 47.95. So there's some we're starting to see some positive tick prints here develop. 5 minutes got a nice response there. I see that one close green, strong green close. I want to see the delta flip bullish here as well if we're going to defend this 47.80.
Global hashtag, the World Trade Organization notes weak shipments with Suez Canal fell almost 40% in the first month of January to 500,000 tons, and the Red Sea Gulf of Aden attacks.
Dollar index has picked back up, trading towards session highs, 103.50s. Again, he's adding weight. If the dollar index more often than not is advancing, that's a risk-off indicator. VIX is picking up a little bit, 14.44 on the VIX. We were trading sub 14 at the open. So, couple of warning signs here for longs, but we are still holding in and around the full session mid, full session VWAP. So, again, there's nothing for me to do at this stage, and it's just that the nature of the market. There isn't an opportunity, an immediate trading opportunity for me versus my strategies. So I'm just watching at this stage. I'm gathering information from other markets, using the internals to get a sense of where we may be headed. I have trade levels in mind, obviously, that I've already given you, predefined levels where I'd look to engage the market, but we are not testing those at the moment, and if you look at the overnight range, we're sitting right in the middle of it, and this isn't a high probability trade location, as more often than not, we're just going to see chop here without any real strong rejection from that full session, mid full session. When I talk about rejection, I'm talking about small impulse moves. So for me, a strong rejection from the test here into the full session, mid full session VWAP would have looked for an immediate test, a pullback, and then to take out that IB high, and then that's that. And if that momentum is building and we're getting the confirmation from the internals, then obviously my focus is on the upside, and I'm looking for a breakthrough the prior cycle highs, the overnight highs, and then pullbacks to either buy on a pullback into predefined support, or first pullback, consolidate, and then play the break to the upside in the continuation trade, as long as we're getting confirmation from the internals, and specifically the deltas. So if price is pushing through the high, I want deltas to be making new highs as a confirmation, and that's my trigger then to enter the trade to join the trend. But at the moment we're sitting pretty much slap bang in the middle, and there isn't anything for me to do right now. So the first 30 minutes of trade wrapping up here in a minute. If we're still sitting here in the midpoint of the overnight range and not seeing anything meaningful develop, I'm not just going to stand talking for the sake of talking. If there aren't any questions, then I'll to join me in the Facebook group, and you can you can request access using this link, facebook.com/groups. Actually, I'll put that into the chat for those that are interested. And specifically, then you can access that, and then that will give you the link then to get through to the Facebook, the messenger group, the trader chat that you. Thanks. So the guys have posted the chat link into the chat on YouTube there. Okay, let's see where we are as we come into top of the hour.
We've just pointed out their piece in Al Jazeera. They suggest that the Iranian main commander has said destroyer Al Borz is
sitting in the midpoint of the initial balance. So we're holding 47.79 support and 47.90 is resistance. So quite a tight initial balance currently forming here, 10 points. I've seen the AD line recover off the test of the 0 line, but breadth remains neutral to negative. And the tick distribution, we haven't seen any ticks above the 500 level so far. So we're in there in terms of the tick, and currently we're seeing to try to pick up here as we hold the VWAP. And seeing more pressure here on the uptick. So as we try to get through the current session mid, so the cash session mid there, 47.86, we're getting rejections. So we're still not seeing any meaningful upside traction here. Value area low for the session has now we're testing it now at the moment. So we really want to see some demand start or buyers start to step in here if we're going to see this continuation move to the upside. Dollar still pushing higher along with the VIX, again weighing on risk sentiment. Certainly bulls would not want to see the VIX turn positive on the day, currently down 2.64%. But because of the level the VIX is trading at, that's kind of exaggerated. So I'd pay more attention really to that point 0.38. So we're not far from flipping positive on the day in terms of the VIX. And the dollar still trading above that 103 level. I referenced that in yesterday's technical trade setup video. 103, 102, 50 area is going to be key. If we defend that, then I'm expecting the dollar to get another leg higher here, up into the 104, 104.50s. Got a video of that yesterday, shared through the Tickmill YouTube channel. For those that are interested, you can watch that yesterday's daily trade setups for what I'm anticipating we'll see in the dollar. Tesla rolling over again, gone negative. We're trying to see, buyers are trying to defend the value area low. So you can see this green line is the value area low. This represents the base. 70% of the volume traded is between 47.90 and this 47.80. And so buyers are trying to defend that area, build a base there to We now have the volume point of control for the session, 47.86. So that's the highest volume node. That's when most of the price action has taken place since the futures opened up last night. So we're trading below there at the moment. So again, signals are not giving any real clear reading at the moment, and we're stuck within a fairly tight initial balance for now. So I won't stay on here just for the sake of it. We aren't really seeing any significant move. Like I say, I'm currently short 47.90 with a risk-free 47.95 stop. I am long from yesterday 47.65 with a 47.60 risk-free stop. I'm looking for potentially for my short stop to get taken out. So if we take out the 4800, 4801, the range resistance, then I will be looking to play continuation trades to the upside. So I'm looking for a break, consolidation, then a break of the consolidation with the internals confirming. So I want to see positive AD line, positive breadth, and I want to see the deltas making new highs if I'm going to play the breakout as a confirmation. Alternative scenario is we take out the 64, the Globex lows here, then my attention is going to shift to the downside, and I'll be watching for a break, consolidation, and then looking to play a continuation to the downside. My downside targets are the 47.40, 47.30, and the 47.10 area, which are a 2 standard deviation move. The 48.32 is a 2 standard deviation move on the upside. Both that 48.32 and 47.40, I would look to play counter trend moves off, especially if we test those levels late in the day. But for now, not too much going on. We have, like I say, OPEX options expiration tomorrow, so that's likely pinning the price action in around this 4800 level for now. As always, traders, plan the trade, trade the plan, and most importantly, manage your risk. I will run another live session next week, either Wednesday or Thursday, and I will update. I'll update in terms of the confirmation of the day and access details into next week. Thanks very much. Hope you found this useful.